Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online build video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I'm bringing you the new and improved Northernwind. It's not really new and improved, it's just improved over what it was in the past. And it's been updated a little, just a tiny bit. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So with the race, we are a Nord with this, and yes, Nord is going to be the best option for this particular setup. For a lot of reasons. I'll get into that in a minute. Let's go ahead and go through the stats. As you can see, we have 54 into Magicka, 10 into health. We have a 25k Magicka with a 34k health and an 18k stamina. That's pretty much perfect for this build. Not gonna lie, it's not great, but it is better than what it could be. We do have an 1800 spell damage with 36% spell critical. We do have 24k spell resist with 23k physical resist. But when we are fully buffed with our resistances, we go to a whopping 29k spell and 29k physical on the front bar. On the back bar, we do drop down a little bit because we don't have as many ice abilities on the back bar. But that's okay. We still get by. This build is an advanced build, so if you are not an experienced tank, I would advise, like if you're not experienced with Ice Staff, don't play this, because this is purely an Ice Staff tank. So, it's kind of like two-handed tanking. When people say stuff about two-handed tanking and Ice Staff tanking, like, oh, yeah, I'd like to see you use this in a trial, or blah, blah, blah. When you're not experienced with something that like this is going to look not as effective as sword and board tanks. Sword and board tanks just easy mode tanking. It is. Ice staff tanking, two-handed tanking, dual wield tanking, those take a lot of practice and training to get good at. So that's why this is more of an advanced build for those players who want to play it. Because it takes a lot of understanding of ice staff tanking to really pull it off well. So, moving on though, we are using Ebon Armory. We do have the Antronach Mundo Stone for the extra magic recovery. We do come in at a total of 1,400 and something magic recovery, which is really good. We don't have to worry about stamina recovery too much or health recovery. And I'll get into the reasons why here in a minute. Again, we do have minor heroism at all times, and we do use tri-stat food. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the gear. Again, the food, we are using the tri-stat food, longfin pasty, and melon sauce. You can use any CP150 tri-stat food. That'll work fine, as long as it's the tri-stat food. Tripods for your potions are going to be the best thing, because you do a lot of dodge rolling, blocking, stuff like that. So having the tripods is really going to help you out in the long run. Now, going over the sets, starting with the first set, we are using, of course, my favorite, Ice Heart. And I say my favorite because it's my favorite for Ice Staff tanks or Warden tanks. It's just my favorite set to use on any Warden tank, because Wardens get a lot of benefits from ice, so this set really plays well with them. On top of that, Wardens don't have their own damage shield, so this allows them to have a damage shield that absorbs 9k damage, and it procs almost all the time on cooldown. If you are a skilled tank with this, it will be off, like every time it comes off cooldown, it will fire again. It'll just constantly be firing. So really, really powerful monster set. Now, we are using the helm and shoulders of this set, and you guys are going to see that I did something a little different with the helm, chest, and legs. In this version, I'm using sturdy on those things to give me an extra 12%, roughly, block cost reduction. And that's the only block cost things I'm using is on the body here. So the three big pieces here are sturdy. The smaller pieces, the belt and the gloves, are Nirnhoned. And the shoulders and the legs are reinforced. As you can see, they give you a decent amount of resistances. And that's how we get those resistances, just where we need them to give us enough to get by. Enough to survive those bigger hits and things like that. Now, if you wanted to, you could change out the Mundstone from Atronach to the Lady, and that'll give you more resistances. But that's just if you're not comfortable playing this as is. If you're comfortable playing this as is, you don't need it. Right. So, going over the enchants on the gear, we are running 3 tri-stats on the big pieces. This is going to give us more stamina for dodge rolling and not really blocking, just dodge rolling, breaking free, that kind of stuff. And then we have the 3 sturdy here, and then on the smaller pieces we all have all health enchants. And I already went over the things here, how to have this set up. But the reason you want reinforced here and on the boots is, again, more resistances. The reason you want Nirnhone on the belt and the gauntlets, more resistances. And then the sturdy on the bigger pieces is going to give you more block cost reduction. Onto the jewelry. This is where things are questionable, and you can do it with however you want. You want to set it up. I like this setup. I run 2 spell damage. The reason I run 2 spell damage is because we are using a ice staff, and just boosting that ice damage up a little bit really helps out in the long run when it comes to dungeon runs. Like if you're trying to clear dungeons really fast, this thing will never die. I'm going to tell you now, this thing's like almost indestructible. But you can use the spell damage. Now, if you want more block cost, you can put block cost on here. But always make the necklace infused with a magic recovery. This way you get that decent amount of magic recovery going on up here. And that's the other reason why I use Atronach Mundstone. Right, going on to the weapons. We are running dual ice staves. And as you can see, we are running the Ice Heart, Ebon on the body. So we have Ebon all on the body here. And then on the jewelry, we are running 3 shulks with shulk staffs. And the staffs are both infused. Now, I run an infused ice staff on the front bar with a frost enchant. The reason why I run the frost enchant is anytime I'm on the front bar, I'm mostly heavy attacking. So if I can chill enemies, that's going to help me and my group keep them locked down. So it's just to help CC them better with the Frost enchant. Now on the back bar, I am using a Crusher enchant because I'm using Wall of Elements on the back bar. And Wall of Elements is how I'm going to keep Crusher up pretty much non-stop. So, and you do want this infused. So, and that is it for the gear and everything. I usually run this with Plague Doctors, to be honest, but I wanted to show people that you can run this with the Ebon. And the other thing that's nice about it is I might have a little bit lower health than some people might think, but when I buff up with all my healing and everything, I go to 36k health. And then if my Warhorn is active, I actually go up to about 27, almost 28k magicka, and a 20k stamina, which is more than enough resources to tank pretty much any content in this game. Okay? And when it comes to trials, you will not main tank with this. This is not a main tank. This is an off tank for trials. You don't want a main tank with this. This is like a CC lockdown tank. So basically it's for group trash, things like that. Like if you want to clear trash in a trial quickly, you take this along because it can lock down that trash and keep it contained in an area really well, because it's going to lock them all down with CC and area of effects, crowd control stuff. Alright. Moving on now to the skills. And I'm not going to go through like I normally do where I say, oh, make sure you get all the class passives, all that kind of stuff. I am going to say that you do want to get all the class passives. Your weapon passives, your armor passives. On armor, you don't need all of them. Light armor, you only need the top 3. Medium armor, you only need the top 2 and the bottom 1. And then heavy armor, you need all of them. World skills, depending if you're a vampire or not, you know, you can have the world skills, you can have soul magic. I always take the bottom 2 of soul magic. Fighter's Guild, preference of play. Okay, I'm going to tell you that now. But with this particular setup, you are going to want, not that to happen, you are going to want Magicka Controller. The reason you're going to want Magicka Controller in the Mage's Guild is so that this way, this gives you a total of 7% max Magicka. So when you swap bars, you'll see I go up a little bit in the back bar in Magicka. The reason why is because I have 8% max Magicka on the back bar and 7% on the front bar. So Alright. Undaunted. You want the Undaunted passives, and then your racial passives, of course, and then onto the crafting, alchemy, medicinal use, provisioning, gourmet, and connoisseur. Alright, starting with the skills. On the front bar. Now, the front bar has to stay the same. It can't be changed, it can't be altered. You don't want to alter it. You want it to stay this way all the time. So on the front bar, we do have Frozen Devices. This is a great pull. So if you want to pull enemies, you can set one down, like, say, over there. And then you can set one down, like, say, right here. And one right over here. And if any enemies come through those, they will get grabbed and pulled directly to the tank. When they do, you're going to use your next ability, which is Gripping Shards. Your Gripping Shards has a 3-second stun to it. So anything that gets caught in this area that you see this ice in, they will get they'll get slowed and take damage over time. But if they're in the area when you activate it, they get a 3-second stun. So if you look at the ability, it says conjure ice shards around you to skewer enemies in the area, dealing X amount of frost damage every second for 12 seconds and reducing their movement speed of enemy hit by 30% for 3 seconds. On cast, enemies in the area are immobilized for 3 seconds automatically. So when you're fighting trash, you put this down, boom, they're automatically frozen in place. They can't get, they're going to get locked up. And that's why it's such a good ability on an ice staff tank. Next ability we have is Shimmering Shield. This is our ultimate gen, and this thing will pretty much be going off non-stop. This thing will constantly be giving you 3 ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 6 seconds. So you're going to get major heroism along with minor heroism. So, and it does restore magicka, which is really nice. So anytime you take a projectile, so like an arrow, or you get hit by magic ranged, this thing will absorb up to 3 of those, and it does give you a pretty decent damage absorption of 59,000. So really good there. Next ability we have is Polar Wind. Polar Wind is just here to heal. That's it. Keep you healed. So, as you can see, you can envelop yourself in Winter Winds, healing for 16% of your max health instantly, and an additional 10% of your max health every 10 seconds. It heals 1 nearby ally for 16% of your max health when you activate it, which is pretty good. So, nice group support, nice thing for you as well. Next ability we have is Inner Light, and this cannot be removed. You cannot change this. You have to have Inner Light here. I've tried it putting Inner Light on the back bar and Northern Wind on the front bar, but it doesn't work as effective. So the main reason why we have this here is for the increased spell critical and the extra max magicka. Because you want to have that extra max magicka, you want that extra spell critical while you're on the front bar, and you want your spell critical maxed out all the time. So moving on to the next ability, we have Aggressive Warhorn. Aggressive Warhorn, most tanks have it, mainly because it gives your group max magicka, max stamina by 10%, and it gives them major force, increasing their critical damage by 15% for 9 seconds. We're not worried about that major force for ourselves. We are worried about getting those stat increases, because that's going to help us with resource management, and it's going to improve our playability with this setup. Moving on to the back bar. Starting with first ability, we do have Blockade of Frost. Now the back bar, there is 2 floater skills, and I'll get to those in a second. But I like this setup particularly. I will change out a few skills, and I'll show you what I change them out to depending on the situation. So starting with first ability, we have Blockade of Frost. This is just a CC, guys. Any enemy that's immobilized or chilled becomes immobilized. That's the reason why we use a Frost enchant on the front bar, is because we will be doing like light attacks and heavy attacks. So if you get chilled on the enemy, like I just did, and I put down my Wall of Elements, and they're chilled, it will immobilize them. So it'll automatically lock them in place. So it's a really good way to keep those enemies from getting to your allies. Is just keep light attacking or heavy attacking if you need the resources, that kind of thing. Keep your spikes down. If you have these 2 abilities going off, as you can see, my Ice Heart's going off like crazy, and it's also applying chill. or has a chance of applying shield. This ability and this ability both have, this ability both have the ability to apply shield to the enemy. Anytime any of those crit, my monster set usually goes off. So alright. So here it goes. Now it wants to go off. But yeah, that is that. And now we're going to move on to the next skill here. Next skill we have is a floater, and that is Elemental Susceptibility. The reason I use Elemental Susceptibility instead of Magicka, the other weakness of Elements morph, is because this one, anytime you deal damage, it reapplies it. So it applies Major Breach, and it keeps it applied pretty much the entire fight. Anyone who deals damage to this thing will keep the Major Breach applied. So you just apply it once, and they can keep it reapplied. Now, if you want to swap this out for some other abilities, you can use the Scorch and morph it into the Magicka one, which does Major Breach as well. You can use this. It does do some decent damage, and it makes it a little bit easier to get through content. Another ability you can use is Healing Seeds or Fungal Growth, if you want to get some extra healing in for your group. And then another ability, another ability that you can use, which a lot of people have been using lately, is Blood Altar. This is another good ability to use if you want to use it. So it's really dependent on the player. Now, you guys are probably wondering why I don't have a taunt acted, set up. And I'll get to that really quick. I'm going to go over this. This is the reason why I say to take the Destruction Staff, all the passives. Try Focus. First off, this fully charged heavy attacks taunt the enemy and to attack you for 15 seconds. It also grants you a small damage shield. So the reason we don't use the taunt from the Undaunted line is because we have a taunt on our heavy attack. Anytime we use a heavy attack, we will taunt the enemy. So we will taunt or heavy attack as much as we can to keep that taunt applied. Excuse me. So, yeah. So you can swap that out. The next ability we have is another floater ability, but I do like to use this a lot because it is a great group support. And that is Lotus Blossom. This also allows us to have higher spell crit on the back bar when we're back here dropping our Wall of Elements and everything. The thing is that you have to cast this every 20 seconds. So you're using extra resources for a buff basically to heal your group. But it is a very powerful heal. You can heal yourself or an ally for 1,478 from a light attack or 4,435 from heavy attacks. And it'll heal you or a nearby ally for 20 seconds. And it will heal every time you light or heavy attack. On top of that, you do get the Major Prophecy for the 20 seconds. Next ability we have, and you can swap this out with whatever ability you feel comfortable using. If you wanted to, you could even swap this to the back bar and put it here, and then put on the front bar, you could put Blood Altar, you could put one of your other abilities, or if you wanted to, you could even use like Force Shock or Destructive Touch, your choice, on the front bar, so you have an ice ability on both bars, you know, from the Destruction Staff. Even though now you don't need that on the front bar, because now with the way the Destruction Staff works, you don't have to have any of these equipped, or any skill equipped to utilize the passives. So, but next we have Blue Betty. The reason we have this is, one, it gives us Magicka back. It does give us Major Savagery or Sorcery, which increases our spell damage. But anytime we activate this, it will remove one negative effect from us. So it's a really good way to cleanse abilities in dungeons. It costs us nothing, so we can spam this if we need to cleanse abilities. Next ability we have is Ice Fortress. Now remember, Ice Fortress has an 8-meter range. So if your friends or allies are not within the range you are from about here to that boss, they will not get Frost Cloak. Frost Cloak is an 8-meter range. You can actually see it on the ground when you activate it, how big of an area it actually affects. It's about as big as the spikes here. So if they're not within that range, they will not get your Frost Cloak. Oops. So, But Frost Cloak gives you your Major Ward, Major Resolve, increasing spell and physical resist by 5,280, and it grants you minor protection, reducing your incoming damage by 8%. So, works really amazing on the Warden, as a Warden tank. Next ability we have is the Northern Storm. Now this is why this build is called the Northern Wind, is because of this one ability. When you activate this ability, it deals X amount of frost damage every second for 8 seconds. It also reduces movement speed of enemies by 70%, and you and nearby allies gain major protection, reducing your damage taken by 30%. While slotted, you gain increased max magicka by 8%. And that's why we use this particular ability on the back bar, and this one, the inner light on the front bar, is so we can get that max magicka and keep our max magicka close within range of each other. So, alrighty then. So that is it for the skills. Now moving on to oh my god. Yeah, we're going to move on to the champion points. So, starting with the red tree, we have 66 in the Ironclad. This reduces damage taken from direct damage by 22%. Remember, this is just a universal setup right here, guys. You do not have to use this. You can use whatever CP setup you're more comfortable with. This is just what I use because it just works all around. 31 into Thick Skin, reducing damage taken from damage over time effects by 13%. And then we have 56 into Hardy and 56 in Elemental Defender. The Hardy reduces physical poison disease damage by 12%, and Elemental Defender reduces flame, frost, shock, and magic damage. Our Frost Cloaks 8% damage reduction does apply to Hardy and Elemental Defender. So when we have that extra 8%, we actually have a 20% damage reduction from pretty much any source. And then we have that 20% plus this 13%. So we have 33% damage reduction from damage over time, and then we have 42% from any direct damage. So we actually have a lot of damage mitigation this way. We also get Bulwark, which allows our Frost Staff, when equipped, to give us increased spell and physical resist by 1,500, which is really good. Helps us with some extra resistances. And then moving on over here, we have 40 into Bastion. This increases the effectiveness of our damage shields by 16%. This does apply to Ice Heart as well. Ice Heart normally is about 9,200. But because of this, it goes up to 9,976 damage it absorbs. So that's why we keep that up as much as possible. And that's also why we use a lot of heavy attacks with the Ice Staff. And we use Ice Heart, and we use Shimmering Shield, is basically to help mitigate damage. Because we're not going to be blocking like you do with the Sword and Board. You're not going to be standing there holding block. It's just not worth it. Not when you have a shield that can absorb a lot of the damage. You want to use the shield as much, get that shield to activate as much as possible. So that's why we put the 40 points into Bastion. Next, we have 19 into Quick Recovery. This increases our healing received by 5%. We do have 8% healing received from wearing 5 pieces of heavy armor. So we actually get a lot more healing received. And then we have 2 in the Heavy Armor Focus, which increases our physical resist just enough to bring us almost on par with our magic resistance. Or spell resist. Moving on to the green tree, we have 56 in the Warlord, reducing our break free cost by 20%. We have 3 into Sprinter, reducing our sprint cost by 2%. And then we have 21 into Bashing Focus. This reduces our bash cost by 13%. We have 75 in Arcanus, increasing our magic recovery by 14%. 43 into Tenacity, increasing our magic and stamina of our fully charged heavy attacks by 10%. Since we are just using an Ice Staff, we just get 10% extra. So Heavy Armor gives you 30% or 25%. We get 30% baseline. That's 55%. With this, we go up to 65% of our resources back on heavy attacks. We get a lot of magicka back. It's like almost 4K. Over here, we get our Shadow Ward at 56. This reduces our block cost by 20%. Since we are using an Ice Staff, we get 36% reduced block cost. With the 20%, that's a 56. And then with the 12% extra, we actually go up to a 68% block cost reduction. So we actually have pretty decent block cost. And then we have 16 into Tumbling. This reduces our dodge roll cost by 7%. We also have 4% from wearing one piece of medium. So we actually have a little over 10% reduced dodge roll cost. So that stamina, that higher stamina pool we have, is really going to play well with us. It's going to allow us to dodge roll more. It's going to allow us to break free and not cost us as much. It's going to allow us to block, because our block is magicka based, not stamina. So we have a good magicka pool for all that blocking. Moving on. In the blue tree, we have 43 into Blast. This increases healing done by 10%. We have 56 into Elfborn, increasing our critical heals and critical damage by 20%. We have 43 into Elemental Expert. This increases Flame Frost, Shock, and magic damage by 10%. If you guys didn't know, Wardens are the only class that gets a 6% increase in Frost and magic damage. So this really plays well with them a lot. So I like getting that little bit of an increased Frost damage. Then we have 16 into Spell Erosion, giving us about 1,500 extra spell penetration, since we're not wearing light armor or have a lot of extra ways of getting like extra penetration on the enemies. This just helps us with our damage overall. Moving on to the middle tree, we have 16 into Staff Expert. This reduces or increases the damage done with light and heavy attacks from destruction staves and restoration staves by 10%, and 40 into Master in Arms. This increases damage done with direct damage attacks by 16%. Everything with the ice staff, the light and heavy attacks, are both direct damage, so you get a really high boost from this. But we also do this so we can unlock Reposit, which when you block a melee attack, you have a 15% chance to deal 3,743 physical damage back to the enemy. This effect can occur once every 15 seconds. Now remember, you're not blocking a lot, you're blocking major hits. So you still get that use of Reposit. Moving on over here, we have 56 in the Thaumaturge, and this is just to increase our ice wall damage over time. And because it doesn't affect our spike shield, or our spikes, our gripping shards, because that's based on health only. So this is only affects that one ability, the damage over time from Wall of Elements. So boosting that a little bit does help in the long run. And that is everything about the Northernwind, guys. And I know what you guys are going to all ask, how does it work in content? So normally what I will do is I will go and show you guys the build in Hellrust Citadel, or in Maw of Lorkhaj. Somebody asked me here recently, can you show it in Hellrust Citadel? I would, but it takes me a while to get there. So I'm just going to do the Maw for this one. But this thing does work amazing in Hellrust Citadel because of all the melee trash that runs at you. This thing just is like a CC beast in there. So, and excuse me for the coughing, guys. I'm just getting over an upper respiratory infection. So, kind of sucks. Because it was really nice here. It started getting really nice here, and then all of a sudden we got snow, and then that went away, and then we got hit by some other stuff. It's just cold weather after that, and it was just like horrible. I mean, we went from 80 degrees to snow in like 2 days. And it was because of the snow and everything that I got sick. Alright, so enough about me being sick, or not being sick. I'm not sick anymore, I'm actually done with it. It's just, the cough from it is still there. Now I'm gonna pull these guys. Watch this. Come to me. Come to me. Alright, now we're gonna get Warden off. You guys can see I go up to almost 28k magicka with the 20k stamina. And if I do need to dodge roll, like I said, I've got the resources to do it. So And then this ability here, like I put it down, you'll see everything just got immobilized. So, and then if I use this, you'll see it'll say like immobilized or whatever. You can pretty much keep your enemies locked down. I want to say indefinitely. It's not quite, but it's pretty dang close. So. Pop Northernwind here so you guys can see it. So with Northern Storm up, it's just a great way to get rid of that extra trash there. But if you are running low on resources, don't be afraid to pop the pot. And there you go, and that's how the Northern Wind works. It's actually very good. It's just a lot of people don't understand how ice staff tanking works, and I will be doing a video here soon explaining ice staff tanking, dual wield tanking, even bow tanking if you guys want, explaining how that works. I'm not a big fan of bow tanks, to be honest. It's a lot of kite and run. I don't like doing that. So I like two-handed tanking. I like ice staff tanking. I like sword and board. I like any kind of tank besides bow tanking. But if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll get a video out explaining how to ice staff tank, why ice staff tanking works, and how it works. I'll do two-handed tanking, explaining how that works, along with sword and board, all of the different types of tanking. But like I said, let me know if you guys want to see that in a video. If you do, comment below. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.